Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Garry's Mod. And today, the map I'm going to be exploring is one which I'm sure you're all familiar with, RP Richland. Now you might be wondering why I chose this one. It's not at all like the other maps I've explored. It doesn't take place on dark city streets or inside some kind of abandoned location, and it doesn't even really hide any dark secrets. I mean, what a ripoff, right? Well, here's the thing. This map has something that I feel like I've really been neglecting in these videos, something which is so integral to the inherent creepiness of source maps. And that's nostalgia value. Something which just can't be replicated. This was actually the very first map that I ever laid my eyes on. When I went over to my cousin's house sometime around 2008, and he showed me this game for the first time, that was a gigantic seagull. In order to contextualize what I'm talking about here, I need to go back to the video that basically started it all. In my essay, That Creepy Feeling, What Is It With Source Games, I tried to put to words what it is that the Source engine seems to have just inherently tied to it that makes it so creepy. Now, in my explorations of maps over the past year, I've talked a lot about some of the other topics that I touched on in that video. The uncanny effect of walking through abandoned city streets, the soundscapes that make it sound like it's still alive even though there's no one here. But one factor which I've been completely neglecting through the fact that I've been playing maps that I've never seen before is the very personal nostalgia factor that comes with seeing these maps again over a decade later. You have to understand, the first time I saw this map was something like 14 years ago. A child born on the day I saw this map for the first time would be older now than I was when I saw it. And so, seeing it now, especially in VR, that's a whole different factor now, is coming back and seeing it in virtual reality. It's like walking down the street and suddenly finding yourself in a place that you've seen in your dreams. And of course, being in VR allows you to see minor details that you didn't before. Has this map always had doorbells? That is so weird. It's like it's all things that I've seen before, but like my brain perceives it as a completely new experience. It really is like walking through a space from a dream. Like, I know what's going to be up and around this corner. It just doesn't feel that way. It feels familiar, but not. It actually kind of reminds me of, I feel like I brought this up once or twice before, but it reminds me of the Bernard's door phenomenon. And it's something which I'm pretty sure was made up in name for a creepypasta. Basically, Bernard's door describes a phenomenon, I think I just broke that pot. It's basically a dream thing, where the dreamer returns to some childhood home or familiar place, but finds something different about it. Usually in the form of a door in some hidden or inaccessible location, which they feel like they've always known about, but that they know logically just couldn't have been there. And they usually report that they feel some sense of foreboding about that door. Just as, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel about this map right now. This is still Garry's Mod, so excuse me while I have some sandbox fun. Anarchy! Yeah, I remember that each of these apartments had kind of a different feel to it. By the way, for you youngins, humor in custom maps during the 2000s was mostly derived from modifying game posters and putting them on the wall. That and quoting Anchorman were the only two jokes. Now, if I recall, It'll actually play a sound if we try to eat from this takeout box. Yeah. And I think it actually heals you too if you're damaged. And that's the weird thing, is that looking at these proportions, it's nothing like I would have expected. And yet, I know everything that's here. I know what'll happen if I click the different buttons and stuff. But it all feels new at the same time. Now, if you look over there, yeah, there's one of the attic entrances. You can use these to enter each of the apartments. Like a lot of maps of the time, this one has several secrets both above and below ground. So like pretty much every Garry's Mod RP map ever made, this one has a basement undergroundy type area. But a couple of years ago, I gave this map a download just to kind of explore around. Not in VR, I didn't have VR yet. I just wanted to take a look around for old time's sake. And I had an experience which was kind of weird. I'm not talking about like paranormal or anything like that, but come on. Oh, come on! The game lagged right as it shot at me. As I was saying, I was exploring around the underground, as you do, when I came across something I hadn't seen before. Now, I think I did know that there were 2 levels to this basement, but what I didn't know, yes, somehow, in all the years that I had played this map, I never knew about this tiny little door in the bottom of the sub-basement. Now, this really does hit like the Bernard's door phenomenon. And that's really interesting to me because usually when people talk about that, they're talking about like a childhood home or something. So why does RP Richland evoke the same feelings as a dream about a childhood home? Anyway, we crawl into here. And it takes us, sadly not to Narnia, but into the skybox. Ugh. And I did used to no-clip into here. What's kind of funny is that that seagull up there is actually carrying an invisible camera, which we can actually see its point of view on several screens around the map itself, as well as on this big screen right here. And I think you can actually... I'm not sure if you can kill it or not, but I know that you can grab it with the fizz gun and move it around. Now, does this control panel actually do anything? Ah. We can actually switch which view the camera is using, but wait. Whoa, wait, I've never seen this before. I didn't know you could do this. Somehow, I'm discovering even more stuff about something I've known for half my life. Do you have any games in your life, like video games, that you've been playing since early childhood? And you boot them up for old time's sake and discover something new? Isn't that such a bizarre feeling? Isn't that such an almost Mandela-like feeling? How could this thing have existed here all this time and I just never knew about it? All the time that I've spent here. When you thought you knew everything about something, and it turns out there's this whole aspect that you just had no idea about. Wait, let's wave to the camera. I think it's too low resolution. I actually wonder if it would be able to see my arms and all that moving in real time, or if I would just look like a regular model. It looks like... Oh, it actually can see my arms moving. That is so cool. Where'd you go? Bye. 14 years later, and I still find this game so cool. I feel so watched just walking around here. It almost feels like when you have a recurring dream, and you get a little bit closer to the thing you're trying to work towards every time. Doing this in VR... I think I just jumped at a noise in real life. Hang on. I have to take my headset off for this. Alright. Well, I'm sure it's nothing. It feels like playing this in VR is like I've finally gotten to the final boss of this weird dream world. This weird nostalgic vision that feels so familiar and yet so alien. Part of the creepiness that comes with source maps, I've long believed, has to do with memories of playing in multiplayer servers. And so these places that you typically associate with being full of life and happy memories, because it's not something that's intrinsic to the map itself, it's something that comes from the memories and the associations of the player themselves. And so for this to be such a seemingly universal experience with these maps, that's something incredible to me, and that's something that I feel warrants study. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think a big part of it is how much you change as a person in the intervening years where you don't touch this map. But when you come back to it, you find it exactly the same. The last time you saw it, you were working from a completely different frame of reference. Think when you're 13, how much less you know about the world and, well, how much of your personality just hasn't even developed yet. And I think you recall a part of that when you come back and look at it now. It's like your old view is somehow clashing with the current one. I don't really have that much more to say about this. This has kind of just been me writing a freestyle essay more than actually exploring. But hopefully you get what I mean. In the meantime, well, for nostalgia's sake, and for how cool 13-year-old me would think even being able to do this is, why don't we have some fun with Sandbox?